So today I'm going to do a review on the John Deere D140. Let's do a little bit of a walk around and cold start on it. This is a lawnmower used for primarily mowing the grass around the house and all. So anyway, yeah, let's go and check oil and stuff on it. So this engine here is a 22 horsepower V-twin overhead valve, and it hasn't been started in probably about 6 weeks to a month now. It's been sitting. Got down to about 40-some degrees last night, so it's definitely getting cold. So we got this mower, bought it used. In other words, it had about 29 hours on it, and it had. I'm actually about the third owner of it. And anyway, the first person that bought it, they had it for a little while and put, I think it was about, I don't know, maybe about 10 hours on it, and they took it back because they claimed that it backfired when they cut it off, and took it back to the dealer, and there was nothing, actually there was nothing wrong with it. What it was is they were shutting the engine down with the throttle all the way in the fast position. So, you're supposed to throttle it down for a few minutes before you shut it off. But anyway, I bought it used, and when I got it, it had about 29 hours on it. And the person that had it before me, basically, they bought it and used it for a while, and they ended up moving, and when they moved, they didn't have a yard big enough for a riding mower anymore, and so Anyway, now it's got 43 hours on it. You can see there by the hour meter. And I've used it right much now, and really liking it. I like how it's laid out and everything. The seat's comfortable on it. It steers really easy. It's got a tight turning radius on it as well. The only thing I had to do to it when I got it is the battery was dead on it, because where the person that had it for me, it had sat a little while and the original battery had wouldn't hold the charge. So got a new battery for it, and yeah, it does really good though. This one here has got a 48-inch cut deck on it. Cut's really smooth. I've been real pleased with it. And when I got it too, I sharpened the blades on it and greased the spindles, greased the whole machine actually, and it's done really good for me cutting. Good on gas too. I think it's got about roughly a 2.5 gallon tank. I'm not exactly sure. I think it's around 2.5 gallons that it holds. And it's a V-twin engine, 22 horsepower, and you know, mowing this yard here, I can go about 2 times on 1 tank of gas on it, so it's pretty fuel efficient all in all, considering the size tank it has. Haven't had any problems out of it. This is a hydrostatic model. It's got the foot pedal hydrostatic. Just basically, you got your forward and reverse here, kind of heel toe method. Works really well. Pedals, you know, aren't hard to mash in and everything. One thing I like about this model too, it's got the cast iron front axle there, beam. So that's more heavy duty, you know, you don't have to worry about it, you know, if you hit a dip or something, that it bending the front axle on you. Like I said, the seat's real comfortable. I like the fact that it's a high back seat. Makes it more comfortable when you're leaning back and all. Of course, back here, you got your gas tank and everything up under the seat here. That's where you fill it up at. And you got your cup holder, your little storage bin there. It's not a whole lot of storage, but it gives you a decent little amount to put something in there. Cup holder is always nice to have. These things right here are for a canopy option. Like if you're out in the sun, you can get from John Deere. Put in the poles here, come up, and it's a sun canopy. Comes over the operator. It basically ties back into these 2 mounting points here on the dash panel. So, but I don't have that, you know, and but it is an option which you can get from the dealer. I really like this deck here. You'll notice it says edge cutting system on it. When you get up against things, like say fence line like this or anything, any object that you get up against, comes in really handy because it cuts right at the edge of this deck here. So when you get up to it, it cuts down on your trimming up that you have to do, which I really like a whole lot. The deck here, naturally, your height adjustment is manual, but it's very easy to change. It's not, when you lift up on it, you don't feel like you're lifting the whole weight of the deck up, so it makes it really easy to change the height of the deck on the go. And most of the time I do it a little bit above 3 inches, about 1 notch above 3 inches on this yard seems to be about the best height. But you know, it varies, you know, sometimes depending on the season and the way the grass is, but that's usually as low as I go. Right here you have a fuel gauge, and the fuel gauge is, I mean, I won't say it's the most accurate, but it does give you a general idea of what you got, you know, in the tank. Better than nothing, obviously. So that's nice to have. All the things up here on the dash, I like the way it's laid out. You got the PTO switch, the ignition switch with the light combination. Hour meter slash service reminder is really nice to have. The throttle works really smoothly, which is nice. The only thing I will say is this is, for me, I prefer this on any machine, any piece of equipment. If it has a choke on it, I prefer it to be a push-pull knob style choke and the throttle be separate. The way this one is that the choke is all the way in that position right there, which is fine, but it kind of makes it hard sometimes to halfway choke it. You know, sometimes you don't always need to fully choke an engine when it's cold, or if you're starting it, you may want to back off the choke fully and go to a halfway position. But that would be one of the things up here I would change, as far as I'd have a separate push-pull knob for the choke and have it and the throttle separate. But it's not a big gripe. I mean, because, you know, after you get the engine started, you don't have to choke it at all. You just set it to about half throttle, and she fires up as long as the engine's warm, which is good. One thing I know a lot of people complain about on the new John Deere's is this Rio, whichever way you want to pronounce it. It stands for reverse implement operation. And basically, you have to push this button down one time as you're going into reverse if you have the PTO engaged. And it's a safety feature, they believe, you know, so that hopefully you won't back over, you know, a child or something that may be behind you before you have a chance to see them with the blade running. It can get a little aggravating, but I mean, this is the first mower I've ever used that had that on it. So, I mean, it took a little bit of getting used to, but now that I'm used to it, it's kind of like second nature for me. As soon as I go into reverse, I have my thumb right here as I'm sitting on it, and I just go on and mash it. And it doesn't bother me as much maybe as it did in the beginning, so I don't really gripe too much about it. I know some people that seems to bother them more than the others, but anyway. The tires, I've been really pleased. They get really good traction as far as turf tires go. I mean, I have a ditch bank up there at the roadside. I mow with it, and as long as the deck here doesn't bottom out, it gets really good traction. I've been really impressed compared to some other mowers that I've used and had in the past. That the traction on this one is actually pretty well, a whole lot better than others as far as riding mowers can be. So that I'm really pleased with, because you don't spend as much time spinning on the banks and stuff, and, which is always nice. And of course, you know, you got your fuel filter here, your oil filter there, that are both serviceable. Fuel pump here, air cleaner and all is up under there. And you have your parking brake here, your brake and parking brake combos on this pedal here, and this is what locks the parking brake and releases it. Really easy to use too. But like I said, you know, all in all, though, it's been really good so far, and I really have enjoyed using it a whole lot. It cuts good, it's got good power. Transmission functions really well, and but yeah, just wanted to do a cold start and walk around of it, you know. One thing I almost forgot was this feature right here. This deck wash feature is really nice to have. I don't have to use it a whole lot, but a lot of times when you have the grass is wet or it's sappy, certain times of the year, and it sticks up underneath the deck here, I can just drive up to the garden hose and plug it into this quick connect right here, turn the water on wide open, and then start the mower up and engage the blade and let it run. And you let it run for, you know, a couple of minutes or so wide open, and it'll loosen up all that grass that just stuck up underneath the deck, which is really good. I will say this, you know, one thing I know a lot of people I've heard complain about is about these deck wash features not being very effective or not working. What I will say is this, that I've had to do on this one when I first got it, is I plugged it up and it didn't really work that well for me. So what I did, I took this quick disconnect off and just took the air compressor. And you can see when you mow with it, I mean, it gets grass and debris down in there, you know. Really, it'd been kind of nice if they had a little dust cap that kind of fit over this to keep the debris out of it. But this little male fitting right here that is under this quick connect, it will get clogged up with debris, and even from underneath it will. And sometimes the water going in there is not enough to force it out, or it will just clog it up worse. So using compressed air on this and this fixed it for me. In other words, it works fine after you do that. So anybody that's having a problem and talking about it don't work good, is you just need to clean it out. That's all it takes. And once you clean it out, it works just fine. But yeah. And one thing I want to stress too, I know a lot of times, I know every time I mow with this mower, this deck, the top of this deck here, you know, it collects a lot of debris just based on the design of it. It's very dished out around where the belts and pulleys are. And these guards right here, naturally, a lot of grass and stuff will get trapped up underneath there. And I always make sure after every time I use it, I either use the air compressor or the leaf blower. Either way works fine. They both work fine for it. And I make sure, you know, I turn the nozzle or the air gun different directions to make sure I blow all of that grass and debris out from around there. Because you don't want that staying up under these covers and collecting. It makes your pulleys and your belt and spindles and everything run hot with all that debris, you know, built up under there. And I guess and it could quite possibly catch fire, you know, maybe, you know, but anyway, it's just a good idea to keep all that clean after every use. So I try and blow that out real good and keep it clean. But and one thing, this transmission I said was hydrostatic, and I don't know if you'd really be able to see it or not from this angle. It's kind of right through there, but it's got a fan on top of the transmission to keep the transmission cool. It just blows air down over top of it. Probably not going to be able to see it on camera, but anyway, it's there, which is good. And again, that's another area that after every time I mow, I blow out really good and keep the debris off of that fan and transmission so that it can cool it. Keep that transmission cool, because that anytime you have an automatic transmission, it is very important that you keep it cool. So, you know, heat is the enemy, and that's why it's important that you keep those keep the debris off of it so that fan can cool it. But coming up front here, you can see naturally you got your fan shroud here from the flywheel fan. It meets really, seals really good against this, and it you know, you can see here the cooling intake vents here that takes them from both sides. And if you look through there, the flywheel fan sticks up right in that. And I say this, I've used a lot of different mowers, and this one here, out of quite many that I've used, actually runs one of the coolest. And the reason I can tell that is when I'm using it, I don't have a great deal of engine heat coming back on me. And I mean, it's open right here. And I've used mowers in the past that were designed similar to this, and didn't have as good an air intake openings for the engine to get air in there to cool it. And they ran a lot hotter, and you had a whole lot more engine heat coming back on the operator. This one right here, I very seldom ever have engine heat coming back on me, which is nice. So if it's hot outside, the only heat you got to really deal with is the heat from the atmospheric temperature and all. And coming up front here, you'll see the muffler and everything is up under here, and it's pretty well protected. I will say this, that's another area that you really got to keep clean. read a lot of things online about people having problems with fire getting started. But what happens is when they're mowing, they may be in leaves, pine straw like this, or dry grass that piles up. He gets in here up under this muffler and gets trapped between the guard and the muffler itself, and it sets it on fire. There's been several people have had the whole mower burn up because of, in other words, that. And a lot of what I've seen is a lot of operator error. You have to be aware when you're mowing like that, and you know your muffler is in an area like that close to the ground, and the fact that the potential is there for that to happen. You just have to be aware of what's going on. And sometimes when you're mowing, you may have to hop off and check on it, you know, make sure there's nothing piling up in there to catch fire. And another thing, after every use, you make sure you blow it out good with the air compressor or the blower, and then you don't have stuff accumulating in there that sits in there from in between uses, you know, and also it makes it you know, stay cleaner up under there for being able to get to it and service it and preventing fires and all that. So. And the headlights are pretty bright, you know, for what they are. I hadn't had to use them a great deal, but they work sufficient. Seem to put out decent lighting for the stock headlights and all, so really don't have any complaints there. And yeah, I got this John Deere here. It was, like I said, the person before me, it had sat for a while. I think, like I said, I bought it, had 29 hours on it, and when I got it, they had a cover over it. It had covered up in their backyard, but it had sat for a couple of years, and the battery had went dead on it, and all the paint, like all this here and the fenders and everything, despite it being up under that cover, it had gotten a lot of mildew all over it. So when I got it, you know, like I said, I replaced the battery, and then I had to go through and take Simple Green and sponge and everything and get all that mildew off of the paint and everything. And it really went from looking kind of rough to looking more like brand new again, which the mower itself didn't have hardly any hours on it, so that stands to reason. But yeah, been really pleased with it. One other thing here it has as well, it does have a cruise control feature here in which you set your speed down here and pull it up and lock it on that speed. But for me, around here, I really don't use it because I'm constantly having to change my speed. It would come in handy if you were in a really big open area and you needed to maintain speed in a straight line for a while. But I rarely ever have the opportunity to use it, so it's a nice feature though to have, so it's like always a good thing. One other thing here is nice is this quick for your oil drain here. You have this quick pop cap here where you pull it out and twist it, and it lets the oil drain out, which is nice. Makes oil changes a little bit quicker. I like how the fact that they moved the drain tube past the frame. A lot of mowers I've had and worked on in the past they don't go that extra step to put that tube come out past the frame rail. And what happens is when you take the drain plug out, you have oil run everywhere all over the frame, and just makes a big mess. And then some of them will do that, or they'll put a little hole below it. But you know, like most people, when you take a drain plug out, oil comes gushing out for a second or two. It ain't gonna drop right down the hole immediately. So the fact that they put this pipe and extended it past the frame is a nice, you know, addition, so that you can just kind of sit your oil pan right there and catch your oil, and you have a little bit less mess. So yeah, so that's a nice feature, you know, and all to have on it. And the oil filter and everything does a really good job keeping the oil clean in between changes. I like the fact that the spark plugs are easy to get to here. Once you raise the hood, you got one on each side. So yeah, it's I like the way everything's laid out really well. You know, it's easy to work on, easy to use. And, but yeah, anybody looking for a, you can come around back here. See, I don't know, initially this one here, this one came from Quality Equipment here, and they're a really good dealer to deal with. You know, they have several locations throughout my state anyway, in North Carolina, and they're really good people to deal with and get parts from and service if you have to or whatever. But it's a really well-made machine. Oh, back here too, you do have this feature that if you pull this out, you can roll it if you have to. Just always make sure that when you get ready to drive it again, that you push that back in. And you have a trailer hitch, which is nice. You pull the two things behind it, like a pull behind the spreader and trailer behind it, and the toe's pretty good, you know. But yeah, I've been, like I said, been really impressed with it. I'd highly recommend this John Deere D140 to anybody looking for a good lawn tractor to mow with. I know they make a it's a D170, I think is above this one. I think it is. I'm not 100% sure. It's more like a garden tractor size almost, but it's got a 25 horsepower engine on it. Anyway, though, like I said, I'd highly recommend the D140. Alright, well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Comment, give a like, and subscribe if you haven't already. One thing I want to mention again is that make sure if you're subscribed, you click that bell beside the subscribe button so that you can get all the notifications from videos popping up when they're posted. And we'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching.